Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolve with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And we have got two special guests on today, returning guest hosts. We've got Jamie and we've got Mark. Jamie, how are you?
Not bad. Doing good.
Excellent. Good. Mark, how are you?
Doing pretty great. It's a nice
Fantastic. Sunday. Yes, it is. It is. As if you're watching live, you might have noticed, I don't know if my video is still frozen. There's not a lot I can do about that, I'm afraid. But you never know. I might start moving in a little while. But Alex, how are you?
I'm good. I've been watching a lot of 12 Monkeys this week. I watched You a little bit this weekend. So the new part 2 of that. So, been pretty caught up in that. I just finished that earlier today. So
superb.
Cool.
Jaren, how are you?
Doing good. It's nice outside. So, been outside this weekend, except for yesterday where it rained, but took the advantage yesterday to start watching Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur with my kids. So my daughter was really into it. And then this morning I was like, oh crap, I got to watch Mandalorian. I haven't watched season 3 yet. So I got caught up on the first 2 episodes of that this morning.
Especially if we're going to be talking about it today, which we are. We've brought Jamie and Mark on. We're going to be talking about a few different pieces today. As we know, we've evolved. We've evolved into Comics Evolved. So we're going to be talking today about a few different bits and pieces. We've got some Marvel news and rumors. We've got Shazam, a preview on the Fury of the Gods, the new movie. And we've got a little bit of a discussion around the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. So before we get stuck into that, I've got, and this is not a joke, it's going to sound a bit like a joke at the start, but it's not a joke, the perfect person for Reed Richards in the MCU. Yeah, like Jarian's face. I've just watched Top Gun Maverick, which was excellent, by the way. Absolutely loved it. Really, really good. Can see why it done so well at the box office, and can see why they waited to release it, because it certainly needed. I mean, I watched it at home on the television, so it was a small screen, but wow, I would have loved to have seen that on a big screen. But what I will say, perfect Reed Richards, Miles Teller. No, I'm not joking. I know you're laughing. Do you know what? When he was first Reed Richards in that awful movie, it was awful. But I see him in this, and he's grown up. He's like a man now. I think he was a young boy to start with, and now he's a man. And I think he could probably do the role justice now that he's an older person. He's beefed out a little bit. Not that Reed Richards needs to be a big guy, but he's beefed up a little bit. He's manned up a little bit. And I could see him as a Reed Richards now. I really could. I watched him again today, and I was like, okay, yeah, that wasn't too bad. But the movie's great. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys seen the new Top Gun?
Yep, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I have not seen it.
Okay. I could see it with his role. Yeah, I could see it with his role in that film. Did you also notice who else was in that film? The new Falcon. Oh,
yeah, Ramirez. Yeah, he's in there,
Yeah,
he's in there. But no, I thought it was very good. Did you see it at the cinema, Jaren?
No, I've seen it at home on just 50-inch TV screen. So yeah. Not the full
it was amazing though. Really, really, really great stuff. Really entertaining. But yeah, so and I'll tell you what else I've finished watching this week was the first season of The Punisher on Netflix, and possibly the most gruesome death when he kills the guy at the end. Wow. I mean, I was sitting there just waiting, how much worse is this going to get? And then he just keeps going, and you're like, okay, it just keeps getting worse and worse. But great series, and I think it really. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said I think it really touches nicely on that. Should I be supporting this guy? Like, he's doing the right stuff, but like he's a bit crazy, But I thought they nailed it perfectly. So, looking forward to seeing him in the MCU and seeing what they can do with him.
That scene where he kills like all those people in that cell block is one of the most brutal scenes, I think, in any of the Netflix shows. And one of the most interesting things is they actually have that scene Matt Murdock's show where he's like talking to everybody in court, and he's like, Frank Castle's basically the man that does the things that nobody wants to do, basically. And that's kind of you kind of see that in that show. It's very gruesome, very nasty.
Yeah, agreed. That death at the end of his first season was, when he shoving his thumbs into the guy's eyes after he's beaten him to death and stabbed him 1,000 times in the chest. It's like, wow, that's just incredible. But it always amazes me because like Steve Rogers in the comics hates him, don't he? Yeah, absolutely hates him. But it's and you can kind of see why.
So Andy, as you're talking, and since your video is not coming through today, behind you on the background is Mephisto. So basically, you're a talking Mephisto today.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? I can see it because I'm I always get it on my phone. Always get the feed on my phone, and I can see. Yeah, I've just got no screen at all. But never mind.
As far as questions here about that from the chat here, the theater experience for Top Gun was amazing. So I can definitely see that. I wish I would have saw it in the theater or an IMAX or something like that.
Agreed. Was it IMAX? Was it filmed with IMAX cameras? I think it might have been, mightn't it? Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, incredible. And then just as I was about to come on, another one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies comes on was Edge of Tomorrow. Love Edge of Tomorrow.
That's a good one.
Love Edge of Tomorrow. Anyway, let's get stuck into what we're here to talk about, shall we? So we're going to start off with some MCU or Marvel news, should we say? So, Jarian, over to you, my friend.
1 second. From the chat here, it says Punisher gets the job done and it's permanent. They don't come back to reoffend again. His methods will make you question the morality of it, though. So, comment.
I totally agree. That was exactly it. It was just on that line of, should I be cheering for this guy or should I be kind of like, hold on, a bit disturbed, Anyway, Jarian, over to you.
Yeah,
Marvel
I actually have a mix of news today. It's not all Marvel. So,
okay.
But I'll start off with Marvel news. Fantastic Four, Deadline's Justin Kroll on Kevin Feige overseeing rigorous casting process. Just to be clear, even if something is getting active or gearing up, could still be weeks or even months before we have our 4 actors, given how thorough the studio and Kevin Feige are. So, yeah. But in other news, too, there's some rumors going around that they want to cast a Jewish actor for Ben Grimm / The Thing also. So,
any word on any ideas on who that could be, or
no ideas who, but I know who could still fit that role. Seth Rogen is one of them, right? Could still fit that role. His voice when he does impressions could totally be the Thing's voice. I'm not saying Ben Grimm, but the Thing's voice. The other one was Jason Spiegel. He was up there for a while too, as well, of being the cast for that role also. And again, he could pull it off. He could pull both roles off. Yep. So
you could
imagine Adam Sandler.
Yeah, Adam Sandler. He could voice the Thing too. The way he does his voice sometimes, definitely could do it.
He could do the voice of the Thing, actually. Yeah. Can you imagine the irony if Seth Rogen got cast as Ben Grimm?
Yeah.
After his comments last month.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I wonder if they could go 2 routes: one for Ben Grimm in human form, and then one as the Thing once he transitions to someone else to voice him. They could do that as well, or get someone in really good Marvel shape, which Marvel does, to fill that role to play both as well. So we have to keep an eye on that one.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's really interesting too. I mean, Ben Grimm could be, somewhere in the Marvel background all this time. I think he was in the Air Force, right?
Yep.
So, maybe he has some ties to Rhodey. Maybe he has some ties to Carol Danvers. Yep. Who knows?
And Andy, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, you went to text instead of video, so.
Yeah, I thought I'd try and stop my video and start it again, see if I popped up.
Oh, okay. Remember last week we talked about Robert Downey Jr. returning, and there was some text from Marvel that pretty much said that he wasn't. Mark Ruffalo has chimed in on that. He said there is a time machine, and there are alternate universes and realities, so anything could happen. So Mark Ruffalo seems like he wants him to return, or is spoiling something possibly. Again.
Hey, at least it's not on video this time.
Yep. Mark Ruffalo also chimes in on James Gunn to DC. He said, "I would say hire James Gunn because nobody does it better, and Marvel should be sweating because James Gunn is a really gifted filmmaker, and I think he's going to be amazing for that franchise." So it sounds like James Gunn has all the confidence from Ruffalo of pulling off running DC, or being co-run of DC.
Yeah, I mean, Ruffalo is he doesn't mind speaking, does he? He doesn't mind he'll just say stuff, which sometimes isn't a bad thing, because sometimes you get the impression that these actors have got a script when they talk, where you don't get that impression with Mark Ruffalo. He's just talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget that thing where they were doing like a press tour, and he said, "Wait till you see this next movie, everybody dies." And Don Cheadle's like, "Oh, dude, come on!" Like, and he's like, "Am I gonna be in trouble for that? Am I gonna be in trouble for this?" Like, you know,
It's almost like he wasn't in the meeting when they told him to not say things.
yeah. Don Cheadle's like, "Dude, just quit while you're ahead, please. Stop talking." You know, like.
We have some Across the Spider-Verse news. Peggy Lou, who is Miss Chen from Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, is set for a live-action cameo in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, we talked about the rumor of Tom Holland's Parker being in it. I wonder if we'll see Hardy's Venom as well, but you are getting a tie from the Venom franchise of Miss Chen as well.
Sorry, John. Who is she?
She's in the convenience store in both movies.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's the one that Venom eats that guy that's like holding her at gunpoint or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. And at
Sorry,
one point,
Mrs. Chin, I have a parasite or something like that, I think is his line to her.
Yeah. At one point, she also has Venom as she's a host for Venom at one point too. I think in the second movie. At one point too. So we have a chat comment here. From the chat here, Ruffalo is always off the reservation. So you never know. Yep. Box of chocolates, Ruffalo. So anyways, we have some Armor Wars news. James Spader will reportedly return as Ultron, along with Department of Damage Control, which would make sense, because DODC has Ultron stuff, as we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming. Yep, there's parts of Ultron still out there. And DODC being this makes sense as well, because if he's going to get in tech, are they the ones who are going to be the keepers of that tech that he recoups back for the government?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Ultron. I mean, Ultron's just one of those villains that he can always just lurk out there. You never know when he's going to come back, and he'll just always pop up randomly. Yep. And, he's always going to be a threat, I guess, like something looming out there.
I still hope they end up using him in the fight against Kang like they did in the comics and the cartoons.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. That would definitely be really awesome. And I mean, we saw them in the 838 universe, those like Ultron like bots too. So there are other universes that do use Ultron like things and stuff like that. So,
Jimmy, you were saying?
So it would take somebody to be stealing it from the to steal it, or if we know there's scrolls in there, it just depends what they've got planned. They could take it out themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fall in anybody's hands, and you've got Ultron again.
Some Secret Wars news. Reportedly, Avengers Secret Wars was really slated to release November 7th, 2025, will now be pushed until 2028. So it looks like things are getting spaced out and pushed out. And along that, there was a Marvel leak in Reddit that's usually got a lot of stuff in there, and they had a whole slew of dates that might be changing. So here's what the Comics Kid tweeted after that whole thing that we saw with Reddit. Ironheart sounds like it'll be releasing this year in November. Echo will be in early 2024. Daredevil will be in Q2 of 2024. What If Season 2 will be Q1 of 2024. Season 3 to be determined, but it could be in 2025. Eternals and Shang-Chi 2 are going to be somewhere in the 2025 to 2026 timeframe. Agatha 2024 to 2025 time frame. Freshman year, which has kind of gone silent, is now popping back up again. Late 2024, and then Marvel Zombies is going to be sometime in 2024/2025. So,
Wow, that Secret Wars date, that's a huge push.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it 20 years after Iron Man.
well, you got to think though, with all the changes and additions in the schedule, that projects popping in. They want to get Doctor Strange 3 in. They want to get Spider-Man 4 in. All these things are gonna impact that timeline. Plus, with Marvel Studios wanting to space things out now, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there was always tentative dates. I think in the first place, those things shouldn't be held, to hostage by the fact that they've said this is the date that we're going to release it. Things are always able to change, aren't they? And they should as well. If it's not right, it's not right, and they change it.
Mm-hmm.
Are we
I mean,
looking like Kang Dynasty being like 27?
27 or 26 maybe. I gotta go back and see if there's any more dates on that, but yeah. So
I mean, we've seen slates like basically be talked about and then come out to be like an entirely different phase than we originally had expected. So I mean, this isn't anything new. So I mean, we could totally see some things completely change. Maybe some projects get pushed way out like this. I mean, it's 2028 seems like a long time away.
It does seem a long time away. We're only just started 2023. It's 5 years away.
Yeah.
But maybe that gives them more time to fit more things in. Let's see, eh? Let's see.
from the chat here, I hate it. It better be worth the wait.
It might even end up being 2 parts. So we might get a 27
Yeah.
and 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it could easily. I think we discussed a couple of weeks ago about the fact that it could be a 2-parter, no problem. There's almost 2 distinct parts to that story anyway, so it could easily be a 2-parter movie. Could be a trilogy, to be totally honest.
Yeah. Daredevil news: Deborah Ann Wall and Eldon Henson are reportedly not expected to return in the series, which just started filming this week. Also, Aliette Zero won't return to play Vanessa Fisk. So that's 3 mainstays in the Netflix series that aren't coming back.
I wonder if she'll even be mentioned like at all. Probably not.
Vanessa.
Yeah.
Well, Vanessa will be mentioned, but here, stay tuned for this. So John Bernthal's Frank Castle is back. Sandrine Holt will star as Vanessa Fisk in the series. So they recast Vanessa, and I wonder if we won't see, Deborah Ann Wall and Eldon's characters at all, or are they going to get recasted as well? That's still to be determined.
It's a shame because I didn't. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
I can't see it going on with no Foggy. You can get away with no Karen, but without Foggy, I don't see it at all.
Yeah, I guess they'll be recasted.
It's a shame, isn't it? I didn't think he was that. I thought he was quite good.
Oh, I love Foggy. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Also, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actor Michael Gaston has joined the cast as well. So,
which who's he?
He was briefly in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so not a big role.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What character did he play in that?
I gotta go back and look. It was a small role.
Okay.
I gotta go back and look at what it was, though.
Okay.
From the chat, any news on Elektra? No news on Elektra, if she will or will not be in the series. So it sounds like a lot of changes are happening from Netflix, which seems like they're moving on and no ties to Netflix with all these changes.
I would honestly love for Elodie Young to come back from the Netflix series as Elektra. I thought she killed it, to be honest.
There are a couple of female actresses in there that don't have a named role. It could potentially be, but
yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Ooh, Michael Gaston, he's an awesome actor. He's like a bad guy and everything, but he's like a government baddie, usually like a CIA guy or something.
Right. Okay.
From the chat here, it needs to be Elodie. So there you go, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
What if Mark, you got something?
Nope.
Okay. What if Marvel Studios introducing a native character, Kahore, in season 2 of What If? The story was created in close collaboration with members of the Mohawk Nation, including historian Doug George and Mohawk language expert Cecilia King. asked what would happen if the Tesseract fell to Earth and landed in the sovereign, I'm going to butcher this, Haudenosaunee Confederacy before the colonization of America. Now, if you think about it, I like how they're doing this because in the comics, this was a Captain America role in this back past time frame. So instead of doing Captain America as this, I'm glad they're going with the Native American role to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it would make more sense for storytelling purposes, right? I mean,
Yep.
No need to bring in somebody like Captain America and put them in a story like that.
Yeah.
Yep, and there you go. And this, the actress from Predator Prey got the voice part.
Oh,
So,
wow. I didn't know that.
Good shout out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she's been wanting to join the MCU, and I keep saying make her the
White Tiger.
no, not the White Tiger, the Ghost Rider.
Oh, the one who's also the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I cannot think of her name either.
That'd be pretty cool to bring her in for that role for live
Mhm.
action. Doctor Strange 3's news, they are eyeing Sam Raimi to return for the film. So,
I mean, kind of stick with the trilogy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, keep it rolling. Seems good, you know?
yeah, I wonder what role Bruce Campbell will play in this film.
Hopefully we don't get like another, what was it, Pizza Papa or
Pizza
whatever
Papa.
that. Yeah, hopefully we don't get another one of those.
He'll be Taco Tony now in this movie. I don't know.
Taco Tony outside of Stark Tower or something like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Maybe
Finally get to be
maybe
Mysterio.
Doctor Strange. Oh, sorry.
So maybe this time he'll finally get to be Mysterio, like he was originally supposed to be in the
There you go.
Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Mysterio and 838. Go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say that maybe Doctor Strange will go through another world and he'll just be Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, you know, they should put him out on the street, like dressed up like Mysterio, handing out pamphlets saying Mysterio was a hero. That would be
Yeah.
so funny, and he could work for like the Daily Bugle or something like that. It'd be so hilarious.
From the chat, I think White Tiger is confirmed now, which there's been a lot of talk about White Tiger coming to the MCU. Specifically, I think Daredevil series, wasn't it? Or was it another series?
I thought it was Daredevil.
I think it was
Yeah.
in Daredevil, yeah.
Okay, but not sure. And then they also said Jenny Ortega, which there's been rumors around that too as well, but no confirmation.
She's getting everywhere at the minute, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's in
she's
the
everywhere.
latest
She's in
Scream movie
Scream.
Wednesday, yeah.
And she's going to be cast. It sounds like Beetlejuice 2 is happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she will be the daughter of Winona Ryder's character in that movie. So,
Yeah, I hope she doesn't get I haven't seen I have seen the Scream movie that she's in, because this will be the second one that she's in.
yep.
Wasn't it? She was in the one before this, 5 or 6 or whatever it was. But she was basically Wednesday in that as well.
Yeah.
And I just hope she doesn't end up getting sort of typecast in that kind of moody teenager sort of role.
She was in You as like a character's little sister in like season 3, I think it was, or season 2 or something. So season 2 it was. So
Have you watched that bit yet?
the most recent one?
Well, the season with her in it.
Yeah, I mean I've seen all of You now. I'm all caught
Okay.
up, but yeah, I mean,
Was she that type of character in that as well?
yeah, but I mean I think that was also probably like 5 years ago that was
Okay,
filmed.
gotcha.
So like, I mean, I don't know how old she is, but she can't be probably older than 20 years old. So I mean, she probably was like a teenager then, you know.
Right. Yeah,
So-
gotcha. It's hard for her to not play a teenager when she's a teenager.
Yeah.
Quantumania news: Steve Martin was almost cast in Bill Murray's role. So that would have been
Man,
interesting.
That would have been way better.
I can't. I'm still a little bit disappointed that they never sort of made that that tie with Bill Murray's character to the Grand Master and to the Collector as
Yep.
an elder of the universe. He basically was one without actually saying that he was one. He looked like one. He handled himself like one. He fits in that age bracket with Jeff Goldblum and Benicio del Toro. You know. Everything was about it, and I think maybe we was just led to assume that maybe they did that on purpose. But I mean, maybe just a word about it would have made it, that little bit of, exposition would have made you go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, he's an elder down here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
missed
Bill
opportunities.
Bill Murray's character was like kind of goofy, like Jeff Goldblum. Like,
Exactly.
you know, he was like he's like talking, and he's like, "So you're Hank Pym. You work with the ants. What even is an ant? Like, you know, like sounds fascinating. Sounds great. You know, like
Exactly like Jeff Goldblum. You could imagine Jeff Goldblum having played him as well.
Yeah, I don't think when he was calling like Asgard, Asperg, or Asberg, or any of these other names, I don't think that was like on like just in the script. I think that was on purpose for him, to be honest.
Yeah, that was definitely Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
circling back to Jenny Ortega from the chat here, she was on SNL last night and talked about getting typecast.
Yeah. There you go.
Made a joke about her face must look better with blood, or her face must look better with blood on it, or something like that. So yeah,
She's got that sort of solemn look about her face, hasn't she?
mm-hmm.
Which is why it works for Wednesday so well. Have you all seen that, by the way?
Yeah.
It was really well done. Really well done. And it got better, actually. As the episodes went on, it got better and better. And then when you realised it was a murder mystery program, you're like, oh, okay, I really like this now.
I was on the fence about it at first, and then my father-in-law loved it, had seen it like twice through, and I was like, okay, we'll watch it. He's like, okay. It's better than,
it was good.
Was it Riverdale? The Archie one? 1,000 times better than what they did with that.
Mm-hmm.
Some Matt Shakman news. Rumor has it that Matt Shakman may be Marvel Studios' choice to lead a Disney Plus streaming series focused on the Silver Surfer, and is lined up to direct a portion of the Disney Plus streaming series Vision Quest. So it sounds like they're doing a lot more with Matt Shakman, from his other days with Marvel.
Silver Surfer series, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So that's potentially like 6 episodes for him.
Yeah. We said about that before, didn't we, though? Like showing his sort of beginnings on my mind's gone
Zenla.
Zenla, thank you. Yeah, showing his beginning on Zenla and the sort of the advanced technology that Zenla have got, and the sort of peaceful universe and all of that kind of stuff. We said about that before, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think we were thinking like more like a special presentation before, so that's where I'm kind of like, 6 episodes seems like a lot for, a character that I feel like doesn't really speak much, and, for Galactus, who probably also isn't going to be a character that we see like be very vocal on screen, you know what I'm saying? So
that reminds me about something for in a minute when we talk about Mandalorian. Remind me about that exact thing about not speaking much. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, that I get your point. Maybe there could be shorter episodes.
Yeah,
maybe like mini episodes or something, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that.
Well, I can see them go through. I can see almost like going through it and seeing him on Zenla before he becomes a surfer. The whole build up. Here comes Galactus. Him making the deal, and at the end he becomes a surfer. So I could see if they did, a 6-episode series, about 30 minutes each. Total time from credits to starting credits to end credits. I can see that kind of like that. Yeah, but this seems more like a Disney Plus special.
length.
Yeah. But this seems more like a Disney Plus special, because I wonder how much detail they're going to go into. This almost sounds like it's going to be like, Thanos type, him trying to save Titan, them not listening to him, Titan gets destroyed, but in this time, Zenlog gets saved because he makes a deal with Galactus and becomes a surfer. So, similar parallels there to Thanos on Titan, but a different outcome.
And I mean, I think it would be so amazing to see Zenla be like this utopia, this amazing place, and then Galactus comes to feed on it, and then it goes into like civil unrest, like everybody flips out, the world is like falling apart, and then at the very end, like Silver Surfer Norrin Rad goes and makes the deal with Galactus, saves his planet, and then goes off, and boom, we're done.
Actually, if there's a Disney Plus cartoon for the cartoon on Disney Plus, so I wonder if they follow that model, if they can make it into a series like that. Now that I think about it.
How many episodes was that?
I gotta look it up real quick. But they could go with that format. Hold on here. I should have been prepared for that one to answer that question.
Well, while you're looking, if Disney are talking more about quality over quantity, is that something you really want to sacrifice for something else when it could just be a holiday special sort of thing? And you could have another series in there with talking seriously about the quality over quantity. You don't just want to throw it in there, do you?
Yeah. Do you really need multiple episodes for the Silver Surfer and for all that?
Well,
Yeah,
so
it probably could be done in a special presentation, couldn't it? Really, in 45 minutes.
So that episode was 13 episodes, or that show was 13 episodes, and the first 3 are basically the origin of the Silver Surfer in 3 episodes. The Planet of Dr. Morale in 1 episode, Learning Curve in 2 episodes, in Inner Versions in 1 episode, Antibody 1 episode, Second Foundation 1 episode, Radical Justice 1 episode, The Forever War 1 episode, Return to Zenlaw 1 episode, The End of Eternity 1 episode. So they could probably take elements of that, and if you do kind of like 2 episodes in one, cut that down to 6 episodes, and do something similar. So I'll go back and watch that series. It's been a while since I watched it. From the chat here about Shackman. I like Shackman. I'm glad he got those projects. Yep. He's done.
So
Next, go ahead.
Sorry, with the Silver Surfer, could it go past him becoming the Herald and we get to see the other Heralds and stuff?
It could, like, maybe, we get like little hints of the other Heralds before him or after him, maybe, but actually, I don't think they'll go after him. I think what they'll probably do is it will end with him becoming the Herald, and that will lead into another project, probably.
What if they do that thing with when he receives like the cosmic power? He basically has that thing like Janet did, where when she touched Kang's chair and she saw like all the past, he sees like all the past heralds in like a highlight reel for Galactus. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that could work. Bob Iger made some comments about the MCU. There are 7,000 characters that are a lot more stories to tell. We have to look at Marvel. It's not necessarily the volume of Marvel stories we're telling, but how many times we go back to the well on certain characters. Sequels typically work well for us. Do you need a third and fourth, for instance, or is it time to turn to other characters? There's nothing in any way inherently off in terms of the Marvel brand. I think we just have to look at look at what characters and stories we're mining. If you look at the trajectory of Marvel in the next 5 years, there'll be a lot of newness. We're going to turn back to the Avengers franchise with a whole new set of Avengers, for example. Which sounds like, we might not see more trilogies in the MCU. Might see sequels, but no more trilogies. And Thor is the only one to get 4 movies, right? He's the only one. Yeah.
So far. And that's why I think, like, in a recent episode I was talking about, like, we kind of are seeing, like, everybody's getting, like, their, like, families, like, set up. Like, we've got, like, kind of, like, the little Thor family building, the Ant-Man family and everything. And it's, like, almost, like, passing the torch for, like, other characters to step up in projects, take over projects, and, kind of man the ship here. I mean, do we need, like, 7 Thor movies? Like, let's be honest. But who knows? I guess it's a personal preference thing.
Yeah, the main thing what they could do is start using that second movie to build in like another character, and then Andy's gone. We'll see when he comes back. And by the time when a third character or a third movie comes in, that's that transition movie to highlight on that character they did. So the franchise can still have 3 movies, but the dynamic of the characters change. So that's one thing we can look at.
And I mean, like, I think that team ups are like something that a lot of Marvel movies aren't doing as much as they should. And I think the Marvels is really going to shine because of that, because we're going to see, like, Monica, we're going to see Carol Danvers, we're going to see Miss Marvel in that movie. And that's great to have, like, all those characters in that movie. And I think Marvel needs to do more of that with a lot more projects, bring more characters into these projects. Like, it'll make these projects, I think, do better overall.
Let's see if Andy's video works now.
Looks like it is.
No,
He's making a face.
For a moment, you can see my ugly mug anyway.
I'll freeze again in a second.
Let's see if I can fix
probably will do.
the video now.
I don't know why I bothered. I was sitting there picking my nose for the whole time.
And we're back. From the chat here. So are they fast tracking Doctor Strange 3 or cutting back on trilogies? That's a good question. It does sound like they are fast tracking Doctor Strange 3 and Spider-Man 4. I guess it depends on the character and the content, right? Because and I guess their importance too to what the saga is going towards. So there is some contradiction there of what he said plus what's been talked about. So we'll have to see.
I mean,
I think, sorry, Alex, I was going to say, I think you brought up a really good point the other day, actually, when we was talking about the amount of projects that were coming out and why some things aren't getting the traction. And you were saying about, I'll let you explain it better because you will explain it better than I will because they were your words, but it was something around, are they getting the grab of the casual fans as much? Look, we're always going to go and see these movies once or twice, maybe 3 times. We're probably going to watch them when they come out on Disney Plus almost straight away. So we're not the problem. We're not a problem. There's not a problem, but do you know what I mean? We're not the issue. I'll let you explain it because you explained it better.
Yeah, so I was talking to one of my friends recently, and he was like telling me that he wanted to start watching like more Marvel projects as of late, and he basically, we were discussing it, and we were just kind of talking about like how for whatever reason, he just preferred the older Marvel projects. He liked a lot of the characters in the older Marvel projects more because he felt more connected to them. And so I think kind of the ideal is like, we had a lot more movies, a lot more projects where all these characters were kind of like crossing over into each other's projects and things like that. Whereas now, like, we get like a project, it's like, hey, let's pump out this character. Now we've got this character now in this project. And a lot of people, I guess, aren't like feeling the attachment across from the characters for one another. So I guess for like him, it's like, for the Infinity Saga, he loves the Infinity Saga because of the story was so like interconnected between all the characters. And now a lot of people, I think, don't understand where the story's going. So like they don't understand how all these characters are going to be connected. So there's a lot of confusion on like how you have all these different characters like She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange. Like, how are all these characters going to end up like, with this Loki show going on at the same time? How does all this like lead to Kang? And I think a lot of people are just like, they're kind of overwhelmed by it, I guess,
You know what?
Yeah,
Disney
it's a lot more complicated now than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Marvel should do? They should release a Disney Plus series that kind of shows the whole connections, right? Because you're a problem right now for casual viewers. Once we got into the multiverse saga, we started introducing all kinds of new characters. Some of us may get how they're connected, but the casual viewers do not get how they're connected. So Disney Plus series kind of needs like one of those things. Well, this is how blah blah blah. This is how this one's connected. This and this. Connecting the dots type of series. Probably some kind of special. They could do that, and that would probably help a lot of perception out there of where they're going with this current multiverse saga.
And I think, in my opinion, I think they've got like a little bit of an issue with like projects like Thunderbolts, for instance, because like as a comic reader, everybody knows like they've had different teams for Thunderbolts, but this doesn't really look like a Thunderbolts team. And then as a casual fan who might go see a Thunderbolts movie, why are you going to go see that movie? You don't really know like anything about like the Thunderbolts. And I mean, yeah, you've seen these other characters and other stuff, but like, what's the allure for the Thunderbolts for you? Just that you've just seen these characters and other things,
They should have called this movie Black Widow too.
Yeah.
I'm like, same thing went for Guardians of the Galaxy though. 99% of people probably had no idea who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Mm-hmm.
I only knew who they were because they showed up in Lego Marvel superheroes. I was just like, oh, these guys look cool. And I know there's a movie coming out about them, but I had no idea who they were up until that point.
And that was a big gamble too by Marvel to do the Guardians, because a lot of casual people won't know who they are, but they had a hit there, and I think they're trying to replicate that with some other characters. They've just haven't done it so well with some, or they just haven't gotten the same reaction like they got into the Guardians.
And I think Marvel used humor a lot for like, characters like the Guardians to kind of like build that attachment to a lot of people. But like, the thing is like, we had Tony Stark in the MCU. I mean, if Tony Stark were a real person, everybody would hate Tony Stark because he's a genius, billionaire, playboy weapons developer. And this guy's like a fan favorite of everybody in the MCU. I mean, everybody loves Tony Stark for the most part, So like, it's like that attachment, like you would hate this person. And Stan Lee even talked about that when he made Tony Stark. He wanted to like basically take a character that everybody would hate and make you like him. And that's what they did with Tony Stark in the MCU. And now they need to recapture that kind of idea with a lot of new characters, because a lot of people, I just don't think, have that attachment like they do to characters like Tony Stark.
Yeah, I still would like to see also too. But go back to connections, where Moon Knight's going to fit into the grand scheme of thing. Because so far, everything else we've seen connections with. You know, whether they're small or big, there's been connections to other things. Moon Knight, other than seeing like the GRC logo in there, no other connections. You know, so yeah.
Which, I mean, like, I think they totally did that just because they were trying to leave it kind of like ambiguous over whether or not this was all in his head or real or not, you know.
Well, we did see one thing. We did see one thing. The Rama Tut connection.
On
But
the
that's about
jacket.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
blink and you'll miss it though.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for it, you're gonna miss it.
And they
Yeah,
could have
and even-
easily put the sarcophagus in that tomb or whatever, being like the sarcophagus of Rama Tut, but they chose not to for whatever
Alexander
reason.
the Great. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
But even that Ramatut thing, you know, even you don't even have to blink and you miss it. You know, you don't even have to be looking for it. I mean, I didn't see it when it first came around. It was only when it was pointed out afterwards because someone went through it with a fine tooth comb that I saw it. That I went back and saw it again. You know, I wasn't looking for it.
You know what
You
will be
don't get
a
a full shot of it.
yeah.
You don't get a full shot of it. It's like people piece together the shots. You don't see it in full at all.
It's like 3/4 of the face or
Yes.
whatever, yeah, and the
What would be,
headdress and everything.
An interesting connection as we find out that Alexander the Great was a Kang variant.
Or
That
it
would
was
be-
Kang.
Yeah, or it was Kang. Yeah. From the chat here, I like to see Thor get a little redemption from the last one, but that's just me. Yeah, unless they get a new director and go a different direction, I don't think we're going to see a Thor 5. I just think we'll see Thor show up in other projects. As far as Moon Knight, Monsterverse, or Umber Tut, which, yeah, I can see him being tied to Monsterverse in this one. You know, maybe, you know, they missed the opportunity with Work by Night. You know, whether one showing up in the other, you know, they missed the opportunity there with that one. And agree here, Midnight Sun, maybe one day Midnight Suns, which we could see him tie into Blade and into Dane Whitman / Black Knights, you know, all that kind of stuff. Work by Nights out there. We now have Man Thing out there. I almost said Swamp Thing. Man Thing out there. So they can build up that MonsterVerse and give us more, and you know, have that. So, a couple more things in the news, non-Marvel stuff now. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has the new trailer out there for the animated series or animated film coming out. That looked pretty cool, but there was some controversy with that. So the controversy is people are getting mad because April O'Neil is not the same white redhead that most people think that she's been the whole time. Well, if you go back to the original April O'Neil, she was not a white redhead. She was actually modeled after the original creator's first wife, who was a mixed race woman. Also, too, she was not a reporter. She was a lab assistant to Baxter Stockman. So people are getting all upset and all mad, but know the facts, know your history of the thing. They didn't change anything. She was originally changed when they went mainstream, and all the toys were made. But in reality, they're going back to the roots. So there you go with that one.
Yep.
And guess what? Who's doing that series? Seth Rogen.
That whole that you know, it's actually beginning to drive me insane. This whole idea that people getting mad over. Oh, wait a minute! It's not a white person. It's not a black person. It's not a. Oh, shut up! Honestly, it's actually getting infuriating now. It really is. It's like, unless the person's race, gender, sexuality, whatever else, religion is important to their character, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, like I said, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I do think it's important that someone like Magneto, you know, unless they change his history, of course, but you know, he needs to be a Jewish guy. You know, he at least needs to have that kind of level of loss in his life and that level of trauma in his life, and it needs to be tied to him somehow. And I think that that's important for that person, yeah, to be that way. But some characters, it's not relevant. It really isn't relevant. They're who they are in regards to certainly their race. It's not important to their character.
And
Like
see,
Namor, for example, Namor could be anyone. His race and everything was not really tied to his history, other than being, you know, tied to the water and tied to Atlantis, which they brought that, you know, with Talakam, that kind of stuff. But the rest of that, They could do anything with Namor, for example. And people got mad about that.
Yeah.
And see, I feel like with Magneto, you can just link him. You can make his character almost experience almost any kind of genocide throughout history, almost if you chose to do so, and you can relate it because his ultimate like driver as a character is since he experienced genocide, he doesn't want mutants to experience genocide. You know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why he's doing what he's doing. So
Yep, he could be Native American, he could be African American, and be part of the civil rights movement. He could be from an African country where they had genocide. He could be South Africa, you know, the apartheid, anything they could tie him to have that same kind of backstory with Magneto.
I don't know if you ever seen that movie. I think it's called Hotel Rwanda with Don Cheadle.
Yep.
Like it makes me think of like the Rwandan genocide and stuff like that. You know, like I mean, he could easily just be from anywhere in the world, and they could link it to something like that. You know.
From the chat here, 99% of the time, any changes made have a comic precedent to begin with, but people become mindless trolls. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to have a good conversation on that.
Yep.
Hopefully with a couple of guests very soon.
The Batman Part 2, according to the producer via Instagram, production will start on November 23rd. So there you go. So the Batman 2 is happening.
Cool. You're gonna shoot me down here. I still need to see the Batman Part 1.
You haven't seen that? Oh my gosh, that is so good. That movie is so good.
Andy.
I was watching part of that scene in the CW with Red Death where she comes out and she says, "I'm vengeance," and I was like, "Oh no, it's from the Batman." No, like you know, like no.
I think it's to you, Andy, about not seeing it yet.
I think that might be for me.
Yeah. Also in DC news, Batman animated series is going to happen on Amazon. Amazon will give a 2-season order for Batman: The Caped Crusader. The first season will consist of 10 episodes. As of now, Batman: Caped Crusader does not have the release date. So,
Interesting.
Someone goes, "This is you, Andy, too." I don't get shocked easy, but it just happened.
Wow, there's a lot of things that I could have shocked you about, but that one's done it.
And that's all we have for the news today. So
superb, well done. Well, as we've sort of left on a DC note, let's continue on a DC note. So we're looking at Shazam: Fury of the Gods as a bit of a preview. It's out this week, I think, isn't it? End of this week.
Yep.
To the public. Paul Edwards, who's a supporter of the page, DC World, he went to the UK premiere the other day. He had a great time, met Zachary Levi and the director and a few of the other cast, and he looked like he had a great time. And he's seen the movie. He said it was good. But you know, I've seen the first one. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was something different. But what are we expecting from this next one?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that this movie is going to be one of those where this is going to be like we have the divine powers have been taken from the gods, and the gods kind of want it back, kind of type of thing. This is going to be one of those where you know Shazam and his family. I think this is actually probably going to have a pretty strong link to the first movie, believe it or not.
With that, they like to call it the Shazamily.
Yeah, the Shazamily. But I think this is going to link pretty strong to the first movie. I know Mark and I were talking about, like, how could the wizard be back? Because, you know, like, it seems like he died in the first one. And I think a lot of this movie is going to play off the wizard's staff, which, like, we've seen, like, in this movie, it looks like. And I think that the wizard will probably have done something like in the past where he took the power of these 6 gods. They're, like, basically in this staff. So the daughters of Atlas want this staff so they can take the powers back from these kids and, you know, now have the powers back for Atlas and the other gods. But the funny thing is like they're not all Greek gods that are connected to Shazam, you know. So it's not like just a Greek god thing. But I mean, I think that that's also going to maybe set up some ties. There's been some rumors that maybe Wonder Woman would be in this movie. I know Mark and I talked about that too.
Actually, one of the latest trailer does show a Wonder Woman type figure in it, so it looks like there is going to be some Wonder Woman in here.
So there was originally that. So there was another actress that's just playing Wonder Woman, like they did the Superman scene without the head.
Mm-hmm.
and there's supposed to be Wonder Woman in like his when he's talking to the psychiatrist, like he's doing like a dream sequence kind of thing, and Wonder Woman's supposed to be in that. But the latest trailer has actually showed Gal Gadot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was her. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask, how does this connect into the wider
Greater.
DC plan, or does it connect into the DC plan? What's the plan?
So I actually feel like that this movie, after the Flash resets everything, I feel like Shazam and the Shazam family, the Shazamily, I guess I'll call them. I feel like they're actually going to probably end up remaining in the DC EU. I feel like, honestly, I feel like a lot of it probably comes with. It seems like James Gunn's going to do that the Mascara show that's set like thousands of years in the past, and I honestly think that if Gal Gadot appears in this, which it seems like she does, we could potentially see her return, just maybe way down the line, because like it seems like they're gonna jump into like the history of Themyscira and kind of like the background, and there's a very strong like Greek god connection there. Like Wonder Woman's like the daughter of Zeus, basically. So there's that connection there. So I think that's why they put her in this movie. Just kind of connect, two characters that have a very similar connecting history, I guess. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see her in this, see how much screen time she gets.
Yeah. So with that likelihood with this, for you, Andy, is that it's all going to be on how well this movie does, because right now, like everything that I've read, everything that I've seen is just like there's not necessarily plans to have Shazam continue in the DCU, but if this movie does really well,
It might.
which the reviews so far have sounded quite positive, and so it's just like, okay, if this does really well, they get the word out and all that stuff, this could very well be part of the DCU in the future.
So they've left it a little bit open-ended by the sounds of it then.
Yeah, and I think that's why this movie is kind of going to go a little bit full throttle. I mean, like in the trailer, you see like a chimera, you see like a dragon, a minotaur, like I think a cyclops. I think there's like even like they're riding Pegasus at one point or something, like unicorns or something. So it's like the gods are literally just like attacking mankind, sort of thing, and it's like they're basically going to take this back one way or another from mankind, and I mean, I think that they're kind of trying to do something. That dragon thing reminds me of the dragon in Thor Ragnarok, to be honest. Like every time like I see those scenes, I just think back to that one moment where Thor is fighting the dragon. So,
So Daniel RPK via Twitter was talking about canon and how things fit in the DCU going from the DCEU. So he goes, let me see if I got this right. No DCEU movie is canon to the DCU except the Suicide Squad. Some parts from the Suicide Squad first movie that connect to TSS are also canon, but the rest isn't. Peacemaker's show is mostly canon except for the Justice League cameo at the end. Then someone asked, what about this year's movie? He says, I don't think any of them is canon to the DCU. They will all be set in the DCEU, except maybe for the Blue Beetle, but remain to be seen. Then he went on to say, the Flash is set up that allows Gunn to shift focus from the DCEU to a new universe. But since he's likely not keeping Ezra, the Flash is not really canon to the DCU. To be clear, when I say canon, I mean set in the DCU. So the DCU is the new canon or Gunn universe. DCEU basically the Snyderverse, basically. I know they're technically canon in the multiverse. The Flash is literally not set in the DCU. Even the end is no longer set in the DCU, but another universe. And then finally someone goes, no way, that cannot be what they're doing. He goes, how is it not? We know TSS and, well, the Suicide Squad is TSS, and Peacemaker are canon because of the Waller show. We know Leto is obviously not Joker in the DCU, so parts of the first Suicide Squad are erased. We know they're rebooting Batman and Superman, so Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League are not canon. The other heroes are likely gone too. And it sounds like Aquaman's going to be gone too as well.
That just sounded like a hot mess, basically.
Yes.
What he,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
he just said there, just like, it didn't. I've got a headache after listening to that.
I feel like
This is
Charlie in
Yeah.
It's Always
pointing at all the
Sunny,
stuff on the
Pepe
wall.
Silva, you know.
Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia, Pepe.
Yeah.
I got boxes of Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is like let's throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what's popular and try
Yeah.
and roll forward with it is kind of what the plan is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with that,
I was
know.
going to say to Mark's sort of thing to see how well this does. I mean, if we're talking financially, I was just quickly looking it up, and they reckon the first movie had somewhere between an $80 and $100 billion dollar budget, and it made about $366 million. So it's sort of $260 million in profit. So if this one does similar, would that be deemed as a success, do you think?
I mean, I think that these movies or I guess the first movie, I think it was, I guess, kind of childish in a way. Like, I mean, it's a child that gets the powers of gods. I mean, you're not going to expect anything else, to be honest, you know? So, it's supposed to be really kind of childish, but I think it kind of, I don't know why, but like, I think it hit everything like nail on the head, but there's just like one part of it that was missing to me, and I still haven't figured out what it was. And I think it was just like I don't know, like it just maybe it's Zachary Levi, maybe I don't like him as Shazam, I'm not sure, but it's just
How
like
dare you?
but like it's weird. It's like the Mary Marvel character. Like I think as like a casting, I think that there is probably no perfect casting than like her in that. Like she looks exactly like straight out of the comics. Like
Yep.
it's weird. Like I like the supporting cast more in that in the first movie more than I like Zachary Levi and the Shazam character himself. So it's like going into this movie, I was not as excited as I am now. Like kind of taking a little bit of a deeper dive into it, I think. I'm pretty excited for it now. I've always liked Shazam. He's like the supernatural Superman of DC, you know?
Yeah, and you look at it, it's a family fun movie too, right? So my son's excited to see it. So you take the kids, go see it. It's going to be one of those family fun movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the first one, oh, sorry, Andy.
Go on, Mark. Go for it.
The first one was family friendly until what's the bad guy's name? Sylvana?
Yeah.
Until he and the Seven Sins kill all the people in that boardroom. You're like, oh, okay, well.
Yep.
I was going to say, Alex, you said something there. It's basically a kid that gets the power of the gods, which is true. Obviously, that's the basic premise of it. But you know, the instant image I got in my head was that this was a superhero version of Big with Tom Hanks.
Exactly.
That's basically what this is. This is Big, just with superheroes and all his mates.
Speaking of the first movie, are they going to tie back to any of the villains? So we got Sylvania in the first one, but we also got at the very end in that post-credit scene.
Guy?
Yeah, the caterpillar guy. Are there going to be any ties to that, or is that just going to be thrown away in the second film? Y'all think?
I don't know if they're gonna actually make a tie to like the caterpillar guy, which I cannot remember his name. It's like something really simple if I remember correctly. But like I think that even like Black Adam, like all of that, I think the biggest tie that you're gonna get is like the fact that this is kind of like a pantheon of gods. Like the 7 deadly sins were connected to Savannah. Sabak had the 6 demons connected to him in Black Adam. I mean, that's going to be like your majority connection, and it's going to be the ideal of basically like mortals holding powers of gods and demons, and that's probably going to be about as, I guess, big of a connection I feel like you might kind of get in these movies, because it feels like I went back and watched part of the first Shazam movie, and it feels like when they talk about Black Adam basically like causing all the issues in the past, that scene doesn't really like replicate in that first Shazam movie what it did in the Black Adam movie. It seems like it's 2 different things. Like, so, and that movie was supposed to be building into the same universe as that, so it's like kind of confusing to me, you know?
Yeah, it's a hot mess, the Black Adam. They set the stage perfectly by saying, who's the 7th? You know, the chair's broken. You know, they're talking about it. Black Adam, you know, The Rock trying to get Superman, which I understand the lore about Superman, that kind of stuff, and trying to go that way. But you should have pivoted back to Shazam, set that up, and had some kind of tie coming into this second Shazam movie for Black Adam to continue to build that. I think that's what they messed up with Black Adam.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that with the Black Adam movie, I don't actually think they did a bad job with the Black Adam movie, because Black Adam's character like does have ties to like Hawkman, to Naboo, like things like that, all the way back to ancient Egypt, back when he was like in ancient Egypt, like Hawkman, like, you know, it goes back and stuff like that. So I guess it's like that rebirth thing. I mean, I could be wrong. Am I wrong, Mark? You know? So
No, when you said Naboo, I automatically thought Jar Jar. I'm like,
oh, Jar Jar.
what?
Yeah.
Mr. Kajaja Binks. Mr. Yahamo 7.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, a lot of those characters, I mean, even Hawkman's story is so convoluted that, I mean, like, I feel like after all this time, like, even DC's like movie kind of presence of some of these characters is kind of convoluted because some of the history has just been kind of rewritten so many times, you know.
Yeah, that's the problem when these things go on for so long. Like you said, they're just written and then rewritten and then retconned again, and then somebody else has got a different opinion. And yeah, it's got to be really hard for writers to try and keep up with everything that's been written for a character beforehand.
That's what happens when you don't have Kevin Feige.
Well, this is it. So yeah, I mean, I think actually you just touched on it there. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a family fun movie, lots of sort of visually pleasing moments, and a bit of fun. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm certainly might take the trip out to the cinema to go and see this one.
I don't think that this movie is going to be $1 billion movie by any means, but I think this movie might make $400 or $500 million, and I think that's probably really successful for them for this character. You know, in my opinion, this doesn't need to be a $1.5 billion movie, and to even think that or $1 billion movie would be absurd in my mind. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, what was it? The first one made $366 million or something like that. You know, on a $100 million budget, that's not bad. You know. Not for Shazam, I think. So
just watch it beat Ant-Man.
Oh, I would be so surprised.
400 and I was looking earlier on. It was the Ant-Man's on about $440 something million at the moment. So it'll probably break $500 million. I should imagine.
That was my guess. I thought it wouldn't, but it's getting closer, so it probably will now.
Yeah, I should imagine.
Which it's crazy because even the first movie for Ant-Man made $522 million, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the second one made like $625 million, somewhere in that ballpark or something. So, you know, like it's like if the third one doesn't do that well, it's kind of concerning, but okay.
From the chat here, back to the Batman 2. Do we know if Batman 2 is going to be Mr. Freeze? Which I don't know, but I'm glad. I hope we get to see more Paul Dano's Riddler, because Paul Dano, you know, minus the whole Gimp from Pulp Fiction mask looking thing, he killed that role. And I actually want to see Paul Dano come over in the MCU in some kind of villain role.
I think that was one of the most genius things that they've ever done in a Batman movie, making the Riddler like the Zodiac killer. Yeah, like I was just like, why has nobody ever thought of this before? Like in this like way where, I mean, he was basically just like the Zodiac on screen, but he was the Riddler, and it was so perfect. It flowed so well. And I know that he's kind of like always had that kind of like twisted side to him in comics and stuff, but I thought they did it really well on screen, to be honest.
Yeah.
Next one here. I want to see Gal come over to the MCU. That's interesting. I don't know who she would play, though. Who do you guys think, if she came over to the MCU, who would she play?
Power Princess, isn't that like the Wonder Woman equivalent in Marvel, right?
No.
Or am I
is that where you get? Is that where you're going with it? Just the equivalent of it.
I just threw it out there. Why not? You know.
Since we have mutants coming in X-Men, do you think she can pull off an older Jean Grey?
Or
is that not enough? You know, she probably could. Well, not Mystique.
I don't know about that. Mystique.
I still really like Chloe Grace Moretz for Mystique. I think she'd be really good for Mystique. And I watched San Andreas the other day. That was just on telly. I was just flicking through it. I wasn't actually watching it, but it was on. And there's Alexandra Daddario in that movie, and I'm still championing her for Rogue. I think she'd be great for Rogue.
I could actually see. I don't know why this just came to me, but I
saw that, Jared. Sorry.
I could see Gal as essentially a gender bend of Gladiator.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be kind of cool. I was gonna say I could also maybe see her as Medusa. I know that's a weird kind of like grab, but I just hated the way they did Medusa in that Inhuman show, and
That's a good call. Shout out.
That is a good shout, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Speaking of Inhumans, what about Crystal?
Yeah,
The one that Johnny
Yeah.
Storm falls in love with.
maybe she's a bit too old for Crystal, but I could
Yeah.
definitely see Medusa now. Now you say that, Alex, that's the best shout so far. You're winning.
From-
You're winning.
From the chat here, someone says I see her as a good Psylocke.
Psylocke, yeah.
Mhm.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And actually, I didn't think Olivia Munn did too bad in that role either when she played it in Apocalypse. So
Yeah, she was good.
another thing from the chat here, I want to see more of Barry's Joker too, but background stuff.
Yeah. I felt like they didn't want to really give too much of that character away in that movie. I mean, they filmed more scenes. They basically had like I think a plan to have like a scene in the movie where Batman goes and talks to him and basically gets the answers that he needs to find the Riddler out of the Joker by talking to another madman to kind of, figure out another madman kind of type of thing. But yeah, I mean, they definitely should. It seemed like we just got just a little bit of that character in that movie. Just barely anything.
Okay. Should we move on to our last subject of the day? Mandalorian. Excellent. Let's do it. So, part of the reason why we got Mark and Jamie on, I know they're both watching Mandalorian. I've quite enjoyed the first two episodes. It's a difficult tonal shift from Andor. We just had this Andor show, which was totally different from anything really Star Wars that we've seen. So you haven't watched it?
Not Andor.
I haven't either.
That's okay. That's okay.
Wow.
But it was a totally different shift, Star Wars wise. And then we've got this. We're now back to Mandalorian, and going on what we were saying earlier about the not talking part. I was saying to a friend of mine the other day, I think this series could have done with not having Grogu in it, to be totally honest. But then he brought up the fact that if that was the case, there wouldn't be a lot of talking in this because Din doesn't really talk to anybody. He talks to Grogu.
Yeah.
So if he didn't have Grogu to talk to, he wouldn't be talking to anybody. It'd just be long periods of silence.
Also, too, who would have saved him on Mandalore as
well? There is that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Mark, what are your thoughts early doors on for the first two episodes of this?
So I understand where you're coming from about how that does stark difference from Andor. I rewatched Book of Boba Fett before watching this, and just because I tend to be the type of person that I watch something and then somebody else has their own ideas about it, I'm like, okay, maybe I should think about their opinions. And then I get to the point, I'm like, I don't even know my own opinion anymore. So I went back and watched it and absolutely loved it. Like, it was just like, obviously it was weird. It didn't quite know if it was supposed to be its own, if it was supposed to be the Western show, or if it's suddenly Mandalorian 2.5. But leading into Mandalorian, it didn't feel as stark of a difference. And so I really enjoyed it. I really liked that the first episode kind of just laid out what was to come the rest of the season. I wasn't expecting them to go to Mandalore so quickly into the season. I was just like, okay, that's going to be 4-5 episodes in, but it's just like, oh, here they are. That was really quick. But I loved that part with the mythosaur. At the end, you're just like, what?
Oh, in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which they thought was supposed to be dead?
Yeah. There are way too many giant creatures in the Star Wars universe.
I always remember that bit in is it in the Phantom Menace when something big tries to eat something and then something bigger tries to eat that, and then something even
There's
bigger eats
always a bigger
that. There's always a bigger fish. Yeah. What I'm really liking about this show, and the first 2 seasons were exactly the same as well. It reminds me of a computer game, the way it's laid out. There's like little missions, and he has to do something that then gets him something else, and then he gets something else, and then something else, and then he gets on to the next level. Sorry?
Leisure Suit Larry. That's what it seems like. The whole premise, you have to get something, you know, the way it builds. So.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. No, he just that is it. Like that was almost it in the first season, wasn't it? Where he was getting all the bits of his armor. He's got I've got a new bit of armor. Now I've got another new bit of armor, and it's like that's what happens in a computer game. You just build up bits, don't you?
Yeah.
And that was how I felt. Jamie, how are you feeling about the series so far?
I felt like the first episode was just quite well done. Just kind of, I think we know there's a lot of people probably didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, and you've seen there has been a bit of confusion with some people that didn't. As it's like, where did Grogu come from? How did he get back? I think it kind of went over that a little bit, but not too much. And then it kind of just set up where we're going. But like Mark said, I didn't think we'd get anywhere near Mandalorian until at least episode 4 or 5. I assumed that the next stop would have been going to get that part to fix the IG unit, and then maybe going to Mandalore, but then we'll have landed on Mandalore as well. Nice,
Yeah,
going
sure.
here now.
I wonder whether it's not going where we think it's going, the show, or where we thought it was going.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Oh, definitely. I think it's. I think there's gonna be a lot more time spent on Mandalore. Anyway.
Dude, so I got a question about this. Did Bo-Katan ever yield the Darksaber?
Yes.
She did. Okay,
Yes.
never mind. Because I'm sitting there watching, like, how is she so much better with the Darksaber than Darn Jin? I'm
So-
just
She
like,
got it from Sabine, didn't she? For a little while, she passed it to them on an animated series, but it just didn't go very well for her on the ruling side of things, so she gave it back.
and
She
then
was-
Moff Gideon got it, and then he defeated Moff Gideon, and that's okay.
Yeah.
She was
And-
badass as well in that
Yeah.
in that scene. That was awesome when she come down, and she was ruthless as well. Absolutely ruthless, taking out those things.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, though, that I don't know. I have a weird feeling with her and her role this season, because you notice there he goes visit her first. She's in her castle, you know, on her throne on one of the moons of Mandalore, but she's all alone, right? Everyone kind of abandoned her because she didn't get the Darksaber. So there are all these little factions of Mandos now out there. And then it's like she didn't want him to come back, but then when she saw Grogu come back, she goes to help him. I was at one point waiting for her to double cross him, or that machine that got him, I thought that was tied to her at first. But she saved his bacon twice now in that episode. But I think she's an ulterior motive still going on here.
Yeah.
But maybe, but I don't know. But the way that ended, though, with her saying that creature was dead and find out that creature is not alive, that could change things. But I wonder how this season's going to end. Are they going to start rebuilding Mandalore? Are they going to reunite all the Mandos out there? Is Darn Jin going to be the leader, or is it going to be Bo-Katan? Something's going to happen here between those two.
Yeah.
I don't think Dini's a leader. Bo-Katan is a leader, but I think she's just bored. She's sitting in that place on her own. She's like, "Go away, leave me alone." But I actually really secretly want something to do. Do you know what I mean? She's like, I need a mission, but I've got nothing to do. And oh, look, here's a mission. I'm going to go and kill him, even though she doesn't really want to kill him. It's just something to do.
I think she feels she needs to earn that Darksaber because she got it. I said she got it before it was gifted to her, and I think she sees that when it's once gifted, it was lent to her, and she ruled with that, and things didn't go well. I think she's seen that as because she didn't earn the Darksaber that time, so that's why she gave it back, and now she feels she needs to earn it. She needs to earn it to rule because she feels that's what she needs to do.
How do you think she'll earn it?
She's got to beat him in combat. Hasn't she?
Yeah, she has to.
Because it's a trial by combat. Yeah. And so with this, I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen this. I don't know if it was a theory or if it was rumors just back then. But there was rumors that Bo-Katan was supposed to be the main villain for the first at least half of the season kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we kind of see that ulterior motives kind of thing. We know that there's going to be some sort of tiff between the two of them, and but I can see this leading into not just the Ahsoka show, but um, there's rumors that there's going to be a big, like a Avengers level threat kind of thing, and so having everybody kind of have to team up against this new threat is just like, okay, what if, like, we need everyone that we can on board, whether, and so somewhere in there I can see them um, teaming up with the Empire as well, but that might be a couple seasons in too.
Like a
Where
new
are we
Sith
at in
Lord?
the
Sorry.
where I was
What
going
is
to say
it?
where are we at in the timeline?
It's we don't know. We just know it's after Return of the
I
Jedi.
think it's 20 years after Return of the Jedi. I think maybe that's too much actually. No,
So are
ignore
so are we before or after the sequel
Sequels.
trilogy?
We're well
Yeah,
before the sequel trilogy.
we're
Yeah.
before then.
I think
Yeah.
it's 20 or
Okay.
30 years before.
Because Luke's still
Gosh.
young.
Yeah.
Yes, of course he is. Yeah, of course he is. Sorry. Yeah, he is. Yeah, we're not long after Return of the Jedi, are we? We're probably
Yeah.
probably
So-
10 years maybe after that. Yeah.
Is this
Right.
threat going to be building up to Snoke in the new order? Then you think at this final showdown, because this is probably at the age where Luke is probably going to start training people on his own, and maybe this is when Ben gets born, and Ben's that training piece happens in the destruction of the training of the Jedi Temple, and then him going to the dark side. Is that where this is going to end, or is it going to be something else?
Good question. I can see them just trying to steer clear from the Skywalker saga a bit
Yeah.
more. But with, I don't know, I know that Harrison Ford recently talked about how phenomenal the CG was that they did to make him younger for Indiana Jones 5. And so there's still a possibility that we could see Han or Chewie, or at least some of the other characters that we know, if not decently well, at least in glancing conversation or stuff.
From the chat here, the Mandalorian takes this from Jimmy Cloud from the group. The Mandalorian takes place in about 9 years after A New Hope, and initially 5 years after the Empire's defeat and Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. That's not far off of when Obi-Wan was set either, is it? Because Leia and Obi-Wan must have only been about 9. So this is just before.
No, well, Obi-Wan was set like 10 years after the events of Episode 3.
Right, yeah. So about 4 years after this, then, if what Jamie's saying is right. This is when it gets complicated, isn't it? When you're trying to fill in loads of gaps. Can you imagine if the MCU was doing this right now? We'd just be like, our minds would be blown.
Yeah, because I think Episode 3, it was 19 years before the Battle of Yavin. And so that would make Obi-Wan about 9 years before. Andor takes place 5 years before 5 years and less before the Battle of Yavin. And then this one takes 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. So it's like a 18-year difference between the two.
Right,
So-
okay. I love how that's the measure as well, by the way.
Yeah.
The Battle of Yavin. I love that. That's great.
Is any of this like in the books or comics or anything?
What
Okay,
the-
so
Oh, well, I guess it might be in some of the more canon stuff, or good question. I'm like, I've been reading up on more of the canon stuff, but yeah, I don't think they have a set timeline for where the shows fit in with the books or comics and stuff.
okay, because I'm just trying to figure out if there's a big showdown, and there's a huge threat where there's going to be some team ups and probably some unlikely team ups. What is that threat going to be?
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, Thrawn. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to be
So,
Thrawn, isn't
I
it?
think that's
Surely
what
it's
we're
got to be Thrawn. Yeah.
But
It's gotta
Thrawn
be
could
Disney.
also be helping against the bigger threat too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I got a feeling that we'll probably see Thrawn in. We might see Thrawn in this, and then he's going to be the villain in the Ahsoka show.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, and it'll cross over in between this and the Ahsoka show. Yeah.
So, do we think by the end of this season that we'll start seeing the rebuild of Mandalore, given that everything they thought about Mandalore is wrong?
Well,
Yeah,
I could see
potentially.
that.
Yeah,
So-
I mean they think that it's poisoned and that nobody can go there, but it seems like Bo-Katan kind of knows that anyway.
Like she's been going there.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
reason.
Yeah,
So yeah, I wonder because the only issue they have right now is that because of the atmosphere, they can't get communication in and out, which they can probably fix that with technology and satellites and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
the planet itself looks habitable. They could rebuild. You know, they could. You know, other than those troll things.
Yeah.
You know, they
and
could rebuild.
she said they were there before anyway.
Yeah. So
So they've obviously had to deal with them before. Yeah, but 2 good episodes. Looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. I think it's going to go somewhere different to where we thought it was going to go. Like Jamie said, we thought we weren't going to, and Mark said we didn't think we was going to see Mandalore in episode 2. So it's obviously going to go somewhere where we wasn't expecting.
Also, sorry, quick
Go on.
plug for Bad Batch. If you haven't been watching Bad Batch, this week's episode just like blew everything else out of the water. Like it was just like
I saw you talking about it on a group. You said it was amazing, and I was like, "Oh man, I sort of didn't watch the first season and watched
yeah,
a little
because
bit."
the character building is just like you're like wow, so good.
I gotta get
Okay.
caught up here.
Yeah, I've got to get caught up.
I do have one more question though. So, do we think that Dan will get back in the Mandalore graces with him being in those waters and retaking the oath, or do you think that there's still something fishy going on with that faction that's still old school Mandalore?
There's definitely something fishy going on there,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
since especially since I'm like Bo-Katan mentioned them, the Children of the Watch, and I was thinking about this recently. I'm like, where have I heard Watch before regarding Mandalore? And I'm like, oh wait, Death Watch. And so if they're of any relation to Death Watch, like John or the director, what's his name? Yeah, his character Paz Vizsla is a direct descendant of the leader of Death Watch. So
Right. Okay.
So could this bring a showdown between the Bo-Katan Mandos and the hard old school Mandos, and Din trying to decide which side he wants to take?
I could see that happening.
I
Yeah.
think it depends how Bo-Katan takes what she's seen. She seemed very shocked. I could see her being. It could possibly be a what's the word? Like a moment of realization.
That it's all false.
An epiphany.
What she believes and what Din believes is more true, possibly. She might switch more to that side than what she was originally on. She might not start taking her helmet off now. Those sort of things.
Yeah, she's kind of lost her way, hasn't she? She's kind of like, oh, those old fables of don't mean anything. You know, you're following a sort of a false prophet sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of come down to realization a little bit, and you know, you can carry on not taking your helmet off if you want, and you can believe in these old fables, but you know, I lived here and watched people get slaughtered sort of thing. She's kind of got a bit real about it, hasn't she, I suppose?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From the chat here, I like the first 2 episodes, but something does feel off. Just different. Someone else in the group said the same thing.
I think, like I said, I think that tonal shift from Andor to this was very difficult because Andor was so different. Yeah, like Boba Fett, it was easy to if Andor hadn't been between this and Boba Fett, it would have probably been easy to just transition straight into this. But after watching Andor, where it was so different, coming into this, you're like, hold on, oh yeah, I've got to readjust my brain again. But then we should be used to that as you know, as fans of certainly the MCU, and certainly in recent times in the MCU, we should be used to being able to shift back and forwards. So I suppose that may be something that we need to work on.
Would you
But,
relate Andor to more like a spy type thing, kind of like a hardcore Shield type project, or like Winter Soldier, and then this kind of going back to like I don't know, like an Iron Man movie or something else?
Yeah. I mean, this has got more sort of family friendly vibes about it. Where Andor, not that it wasn't family friendly in regards to its sort of, it wasn't graphic or anything like that, but it was just the themes about it was a little bit more sophisticated, I guess. That sort of espionage and corruption and political corruption, that whole thing. It was a little bit harder to understand than this. This is quite easy to understand,
Okay.
where I think Andor had sort of more difficult underlying story than this. It's not to say this is bad, it's just to say that Andor had those other things going on. Right, we've spoken about Marvel, we've spoken about DC, we've spoken about Star Wars, we've spoken about everything else in between. Has anybody got anything they want to say before we close out this episode? No, I'll just leave you over to Jarin to tell you where we're going. Then where can they catch us, Jarin?
Yeah, so you can catch us on Twitter. So our live stream is on Twitter, on Trovo, on Twitch, on YouTube, on the Facebook page, and in all of the Facebook groups. We also have our Instagram account. We are going through in our rebranding stuff, so stay patient with us as we're switching over from the old branding to the new branding. But yeah, you can find us there. Again, if you do watch us on Twitter, we can't see the chat, so migrate over to one of the other platforms like Twitch or YouTube or Trovo or the Facebook page.
Awesome. Jamie, Mark, thank you for joining us. Alex, Jarin, as always, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
You're very welcome. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care.
See you guys.